This is SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. Brought to you by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. The National Medal of Honor Museum. Discover the National Medal of Honor Museum and witness real people, real stories, and real courage. All-Tech Lansing. Just listen with All-Tech Lansing, perfecting sound since 1927. And by SWBC Mortgage. Customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit SWBC.com. Now, your hosts, Nate Newton and Bobby Belt.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to Cowboys Crosstalk live on the Dallas Cowboys radio network, DallasCowboys.com, and all other associated social media platforms. We are live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco. I'm Bobby Belt from 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. Tonight, I'm joined by Nicole Hutchison from DallasCowboys.com. As always, we've got the three-time Super Bowl champ and six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton here with us.
How you doing?
And our special Cowboys alumni this evening is a three-time All-Pro, three-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, and former number one overall pick, Ed Too Tall Jones. Ed, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So I've got a chance to talk to you years ago. This is about 10 years ago now. And I remember you going through your run at Jackson State, and it is genuinely one of the most incredible stories I've heard in terms of just a guy who was so gifted in so many different ways athletically and you know, really close to his family and some of the decisions that went into where you ended up at Tennessee State because of things that happened your senior year and things like that. So I just want to give you a chance to dive into some of that. So first off, the fact that as a decorated football player that you are, you didn't even play football in high school because you didn't have the option because of an insurance issue.
No, I'm from Jackson, Tennessee, a little small town between Memphis and Nashville. And my high school didn't have football because we didn't have enough students, number one. And so I played basketball, baseball, and boxed. And my senior year, I lost my father. And I tried out for Golden Gloves that year and knocked a guy out with still a record now in 38 seconds.
Ooh.
Made the front page of my little hometown paper. Now, when you make the front page in my hometown, that's what we call tall cotton.
Right.
So, but unfortunately for me, my coach who coached baseball and basketball, I was All-American in both baseball and basketball, saw it and gave me an ultimatum. Either give it up or I couldn't play baseball and basketball. So I had to give it up. Denied an opportunity to do something that's still to this day my favorite sport. After high school, they didn't have a draft in baseball at that time. Mm-hmm. They invited you to camp. The Cincinnati Reds invited me, wanted me to be one of the big red machines. I was a very good baseball player. Unfortunately for me, my mom, I grew up with 5 sisters and 2 brothers, said all of her kids was going to get a degree. They had just come out with a fastback Mustang. I said, but Mom, I'd be able to afford my own fastback Mustang. She said, you go to college, do the right thing. Not only would you be able to afford one for yourself, but for anybody you want. So, listen to your mom. So I knew that was over.
Right.
But I was going to Arizona State to follow Reggie Jackson, the baseball player. I was going to play both baseball and basketball. But after my father passed, my brother-in-law, who married my oldest sister, became my mentor. I said, you need to go to Tennessee State where you can check on your mom. My mom didn't even know how to drive. She and my dad did everything together. So I said, okay, Tennessee State. He said, you're a football player. I said, football? I don't even know the rules of football. He said, that's what I'm going to teach you this summer. So he drove me up to Tennessee State. Tennessee State didn't even try and recruit me. I had baseball and basketball scholarships all across the country and took me into the coach's office and said, hey, this is Ed Jones. And he said, I know who that is. He said, Ed's interested in going to attending Tennessee State to play football. He looked at me, almost swallowed his cigar. And they had intercoms back then. So he called the coach, Ed Martin, the basketball coach. He said, get down here quick. Ed Martin walked in, looked and saw me, and Coach Merritt said, Ed's interested in going to Tennessee State to play football. Ed Martin said, give him anything he wants. So anyway, I decided to go to Tennessee State and play both football and basketball my first year. If I didn't like football, I'd drop it and go to baseball rather. First day at practice, walked in the equipment room. The equipment manager gave me the longest pair of pants he had that hit me above my knees.
Right.
He said, stay out of contact drills, we'll have your pair made. I walk on the field, a guy did a double take and said, you know you're too tall for football. That's how I got the nickname, too tall.
Yeah, wow.
That is so great. And I love you talking about your love of boxing,
Yes.
the baseball, the basketball, everything like that. You told a story one time about a station wagon and travel baseball and then the woman who poured into you and how that really sparked your love for athletics while you were in high school.
This is when I was in junior high. When I was in junior high, growing up on a farm, we had baseball fields. And she decided to form a baseball league where you competed against other communities. And we thought that was really cool. We get to compete and all that. And we didn't have a vehicle for everybody to get around. So she sold her car and bought a big station wagon for all us to ride around going back and forth to games. So that's who got me interested in sports. And to this day, I thank her because, we had basketball goals on the back of our barn and little baseball field because we're out in the country.
Field of dreams.
But not really nothing to compete, to bring that competitive spirit out. And she's the one that got that going.
I don't think I've ever heard a story like that of like you mentioned in there. She just had a love for the community and wanted to help you guys to the point where she's selling her car just to be able to buy a station wagon to help you guys around.
Yes.
I mean, so that's the case for
Special
you,
lady.
where you feel like, I mean, does that change the trajectory? If she doesn't do that and she doesn't, do you think that changes your trajectory of what you end up doing?
If she hadn't organized where we could compete like that, I probably would have focused on being a farmer like my dad. The reason why I like boxing was because of my dad. My dad was a big fight fan, and I remember oftentimes when fights weren't televised, he'd listen to them on the radio, and I'd sit on his lap and watch the expression on his face because if his fighter won, he'd always go out and play catch with me, But so had it not been for boxing, I probably would have wanted to be a farmer like he was.
How difficult was it when you look back at that decision you had to make at finally saying, all right, can't box no more, let me just go and play football, play basketball? How difficult was that decision for you?
Very difficult. Very difficult because I'll make a long story short. When you denied, I loved boxing. And when you denied an opportunity to do something not only that you really enjoy and appreciate, but you're pretty good at. I'd never lost a fight. That's painful. That is very painful. And something that it was hard to swallow. That's why when I was fortunate enough to go to college and be drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, our favorite team growing up out there, because they're the only one we got on TV. And after my first 4 years, we won a Super Bowl, lost the Super Bowl, and I said, you know what? Now is the right time if I'm ever going to pursue this to do it now. I got my ring. I don't want to be 40 years old, never doing something I really wanted to do.
All right.
So I sat down and talked to my mom about it. The first thing she said was, well, son, you go further in something you really like, but don't burn any bridges. I mean, let the Cowboys know. Because I'd signed a 4-year deal with an option year. So I gave the Cowboys a year notice that I wouldn't be back. And they believed me, and that's why they drafted Larry Bethea out of Michigan State.
Right.
And then we lost the Super Bowl my 5th year. And I said, hey, that's 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. So I went on to pursue that boxing career and fought 1 year, 6 fights, won all 6. And things happened that I still haven't told anyone what actually happened. I can't wait till the day I decide to reveal what actually happened, why I came back. Because when I left football, I didn't think I'd ever play again. And the stories I've heard are so far from the truth. But, when I came back after that 1 year experience of boxing, I was probably the happiest player in not just the Cowboys uniform, in the entire league. That elephant was off my back.
Nate, you played with Ed, and I'm sure you knew his reputation when you got here. And Was that just a situation for you where you're just like marveling, like, oh my gosh, this guy, like, he's got just all this natural ability. Holy cow!
You gotta understand, it's only when I came here, it was Ed, it was Tony, it was Tony Hill, it was Dorsett, it was Randy White, it was all of these guys that I watched on TV and that I idolized. It's like, man, can I? You know, I used to run around sometimes thinking I'm Ed. Sometimes I come around thinking I'm Randy.
Yeah.
You know, and I know the farthest dream I had was when I thought I was Tony. You know what I'm saying? Tony Dorsett.
Raphael Septien in there, maybe?
No, I wasn't dealing with kickers. Still don't deal with kickers. But I was so excited to be here. I don't think I blocked him. I tried, but I was so marveled that I'm with my heroes. But this guy saved my career, him and Randy, by talking to Jimmy and talking to Coach Landry, saying, hey, I know he's the fattest guy you ever had on your team, but this guy can play. These guys saved my career, so I'm always being, y'all notice I'm getting his son right over there. Hey, this is his son, da-da-da. I owe them this because they followed my career. They gave me an opportunity.
I have to comment on that.
Yeah, please.
Randy and I, we know a football player when we see one. We also saw in practice and how he played. And Jimmy Johnson and Tom Landry believed in speed.
Yes.
And Coach Landry finally recognized that Nate's not going to beat nobody in the 40.
Right.
But he'll blow any lineman off that line of scrimmage. But when Jimmy Johnson took over, because Nate couldn't run those sprints after practice.
Yeah.
In the time that he wanted us to run them in, rumor was he was going to let him go. We went in to talk to Jimmy and said, Jimmy, you'd be making the biggest mistake you made since you started coaching if you cut this guy. And Jimmy kind of licked his lip, gave us a little look, and walked out.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
6 Pro Bowls later.
There you go.
Man. Yeah, I'm telling you because I knew he was going to cut me, man. I knew Jimmy was going to cut me. So I knew how Jimmy liked to make a spectacle of everybody. I said, you know what? This little old man ain't never been beat up before. But if this is what I'm thinking. But you know what I did, Ed? I say, I'm going to give him an opportunity to save himself. Yeah. So I went to Coach Johnson and said, Coach Johnson, we got these 16-110s. Cut me now. Just say, hey, big fella, I'm going to let you go. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he looked at me, he said, no matter what happens, just keep moving. I said, what do you mean, Coach? He said, when you start running, I know you're going to do 1 or 2, but you ain't going to make it. But just keep going. Don't stop. But remember that boy the asthma field?
That's right.
When Jimmy said, throw him on the other field. This is the asthma field. He looked up at me because I was coming down. They was already on like number 8. I was on number 2. And I was coming down. He just keep moving. And I just kept moving. But I didn't know Big Ed came in and said something to Jimmy.
We made sure they wasn't going nowhere.
And let me ask you something. What did you see in Nate that made you say, hey, let me make sure that he's straight for the rest of his career?
Number one, football is all about, when it comes to defensive linemen, offensive linemen, 4 yards. He was explosive off the ball with good feet and strong, but the feet. Anytime I would study film of an opponent and he didn't have good feet, I said, boy, I'd go to Harvey Martin. I said, hey, what do you want to bet on sacks today? But if he had good feet,
right,
it's gonna be a war. This man had good feet.
Yeah.
And also a passion for football. Football is a very tough sport. You gotta really like it to do well, to excel at it. And Nate never complained about anything, and that we didn't have, when we started out, indoor practice facilities.
No, we didn't.
And that heat, Coach Landry wanted the best conditioned team in the league. This man never complained.
Just kept moving.
And the smaller guys can run around out there and do all that stuff, but guys like Nate, myself, Randy White, John Dunn, all of us, man, if somebody's going to complain, it's going to be one of the big linemen. Man never complained at all.
Wow.
So that told me that this man loved the game. And you win with players like that.
That is the voice of Ed Too Tall Jones. He is our guest tonight on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. Nate Newton with us as well, Nicole Hutchison. Let's go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, Ed just mentioned conditioning. I want to talk about the conditioning talk you had before your junior year at Tennessee State, where your head coach talked about, hey, if you want this to be a reality, you're going to need to really work hard at it. That's next on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk.
Ashley is
Back to SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
At SWBC, customized solutions for individuals and businesses are just a click away. Visit SWBC.com to learn more and start your next adventure. Welcome back to the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco for the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. We're coming to you live on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, DallasCowboys.com, and all other associated social media platforms. I'm Bobby Belt from 105 through the Fan in Dallas. That is the radio flagship home of your Dallas Cowboys. We've got DallasCowboys.com's Nicole Hutchison here tonight. The three-time Super Bowl champ, six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton is here. And then we've got the also multiple-time All-Pro and Super Bowl winner Ed Too Tall Jones with us here tonight. Ed, thanks again for joining us. And, you know, we talked about it heading into the break. You said Coach Landry wanted the most well-conditioned team in football, and that was something that you were ready for because you had already had that talk at Tennessee State.
Yes, at Tennessee State, like I said, my rookie year when I first tried out, I actually tried out to be a tight end.
Oh, wow.
So at the time, I was 6'5", and had pretty good speed. And so when I was working out with the tight ends, my freshman year there, Joe Turkey Jones and some of the other big defensive ends who went on to play in the pros got hurt in training camp. They either got hurt or they were faking it. So the coaches said, we're going to have you go down there, you know, to give them some pictures while we also teach you how to fall. Now, when I say how to fall, people have to realize this is my first time playing football, and as a receiver, if you don't fall gracefully after being hit, you can injure yourself falling. It's kind of like a first thing they teach you if you're a motorcycle rider, if you ever have to lay one down, how to roll with it.
Right.
So I go down, I'm working out with him. I guess I left an impression on the defensive line coach, who felt this is a defensive end, not a tight end. So he wouldn't let me go back to tight end. I'm practicing. First day on defense, practice. Late in practice, a guy hit me. I was out of bounds, and when I say hit me, I mean creamed me. One of those sea stars kind of hit.
Right.
I went after him. Coach blew the whistle. He said, when I blow the whistle, everything stops and it stays here. So for about the next 2 weeks, I was trying to get him. I was always one of those guys who said, you're not going to run me off and make me quit.
Right.
I'm going to get you back.
Right.
After the second week of practice, coach asked me to stay after practice. I said, oh, boy, I guess my football career is over.
Right.
He said, Mr. Jones, he said, I see you kind of enjoy this game, don't you? I said, yes, I do. Now, I'm 6'5" at the time. He said, you realize that if you're lucky enough to make it to the next level, you'd be one of the tallest in the history of the game. I said, no, I didn't know that. He said, you'd have to be one of the best conditioned players on the field, or they going to get your knees. With the chop block was legal, which is a block shouldn't have ever been allowed, caused more careers than any other block. I said, understand? He said, if you're willing to do my rigorous program, I'm willing to work with you. I said, I am. So not only did I do his program, I went and worked out with the Tennessee State Tiger Bears women track team. A lot of those ladies went on to win gold medals.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't tell people how much dust they kicked in my face, but I was out there trying. But I kept those habits, even when I got in the pros. I said, you know what? When I was lucky enough to make it, I said, everybody hated the Cowboys. I realized that. Well, everybody, I shouldn't use the word hate. Every other team in the league wanted to beat Dallas. So we didn't have an off week. We had to be ready every week. So I said, I have to be one of the best conditioned players on the field. And I would watch film on Monday and see where had I loafed, they would have got my knees.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So even during the off season, I would take off long enough for a lot of those little nagging injuries to heal, and I would start working out during off season. I didn't wait until time to go to training camp 6 weeks before start getting ready. So I worked out year round, and I credit that with having played 15 years, never missed a game.
I don't want to put a damper on what this man has said and the work ethic and the integrity that he had, but I have to ask this before I forget. I'm old.
Hit it.
Tell him about the annual Ed Jones party.
Wait, okay. Before that,
that's where I excelled at. I excelled at that party.
Before the annual Ed Jones party started, Tex Stram called me in this office one day. And this is when I was captain.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, hey, man, you guys need to bond. Throw a party, rent a place out, throw a party, invite the wives, girlfriends, everybody. I'm going to pay for it. But don't tell them. I did. And, you know, the funny part about it is I invited all the coaches, too. All the coaches are there. And the funny thing is Coach Landry and his wife, Alicia, were there greeting everybody when we walked in. Before we could have one beer, they were gone.
Right.
So but everybody enjoyed it. But when I gave him that tab, he never asked me to do that again. So I decided to do a annual party once a year. And I told all the players, invite your girlfriends, wife, and your kids. Well, everybody didn't listen. They invited friends and everything. So I had a band drive down from Tennessee, a group that played in Nashville at all the night spots. Everybody loved the band. I had Smokey John, who's still around.
Smokey John's barbecue. Yeah.
I had Smokey John cater all the food, and I had softball. I had volleyball courts set up. I had pool parties, all that. And the players enjoyed it, and I just think the closer players are, the more you'll go fight for each other on that football field.
Yeah.
And I did it for 13 years, and I think all the guys, to this day, guys still thank me for those good times.
I mean, he had a Harley Davidson in the crib, big old Harley Davidson motorcycle. I'm like, whoa, man.
That's actually, that feels like a lot of the stuff that Shotty's talked about this year.
Yeah.
About like how important it is to like culture and like competition and be there for each other and grow close together.
Yes.
So, I mean, like for you guys, I mean, clearly, Nate, that made an impression on you as a young player.
Yes.
So, like, I mean, that's the kind of movement you can get from this, or the kind of impact you can get from those moments that Shotty's talked about here, right?
Just from, I'm still a big Cowboy fan. And since he took over, even though some of the games been kind of rocky and shaky, look like they playing hard.
Yeah.
Look like they're having fun again. And Nate, you got to have, man, football's tough. You got to enjoy it and have fun out there in order to fly around and get ready to compete every Sunday. And also to do what you have to do during the weekend practice to get ready for Sunday. And the thing that I'm impressed with and excited to see is look like they're flying around having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And playing for each other. Playing for each other.
Yeah, and that makes it. I mean, we've heard from athletes before. A lot of guys will sit down here and they'll talk about it. That they'll say, "Look, everybody's a good athlete at this level. Everybody's talented at this level. So, like, you got to find the margins where you can. And so it's chemistry and it's those sort of things." All right, let's go ahead. Let's take our second commercial break here on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. We got Ed Too Tall Jones with us here. Let's talk a little bit about the Cowboys, their big victory over the Raiders on Monday, and a little bit more. I want to get into that thought that you gave a second ago, Ed, about how the Cowboys always get everybody's best every week because of the prestige that comes with the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to talk about that next on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk.
Go Cowboys!
Back to SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
Want to use what the pros use? Jack Black is the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit getjackblack.com today. Welcome back to the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco for the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. Coming to you live on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. I'm Bobby Belt from 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. I've got Nicole Hutchison from DallasCowboys.com with me. We've got the three-time Super Bowl champ, six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton here, and our Cowboys alumni this evening is none other than multiple-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro Ed Too Tall Jones. Ed, appreciate you being here tonight. I wanted to reset a little bit again before we get into this past week's game. What Ed had talked about, man, every week we were going to get the best. And Nate, I think you've said something similar before.
Hey,
like, we get the best every week. Did you guys enjoy that? Did you enjoy knowing, like, hey, every team every week is so caught up in our mystique, like you said, or our prestige or whatever else, that they want to give us their best punch every single week?
I found it out. When I first got here, I thought my favorite team, I thought I was the Jinx. Because we went 3-13, 1-5. I'm like, man, I've come to my team and crushed them. I thought I was Jinx, but I never. Wilbert Marshall, outside linebacker for the Washington Commanders now. From the University of Florida, my homeboy, we was playing in a game, and they was beating us bad. I'm like, yo, Wilbert, y'all bringing it to us, man. You know, they kept blitzing everything. We don't care. Y'all the Dallas Cowboys. We going to stomp y'all. I'm like, Wilbert, y'all up by 20 points. We don't care. And I've heard Ed them say that before, like, we always going to get everybody best. That dude let me know that day. And it was 3-13 that year. And like, it don't matter. We going to get teams best.
When I joined the Cowboys, it was a strike year. All the veterans were striking. Only people in camp were rookies. When strike ended, first player walked up to me was Bob Lilly. Now, I'd watched Bob Lilly, Doomsday One and all that.
Yeah.
And Bob Lilly walked up to me, welcomed me to Dallas, said, we're glad to have you. You're going to love the city. He said, in all the meetings, I want you and Harvey sitting next to me. I'm going to teach you how to pick out a guy's strengths and weaknesses. I said, okay. So the first meeting, I'm sitting there on his right and Harvey on his left, and Bob Lilly chewed tobacco. Well, his cup was on the right.
Right.
I'm sitting there with my white socks and sweatsuit on. He kept missing that cup. And I'm sitting there going, I can't say nothing. This is Mr. Cowboy.
Yeah.
So Harvey was never late for anything, but always the last one to walk in. So Harvey went to his grave not knowing every time he walked to that meeting, I would beat him in that and sit on that left side of my But Bob Lilly was one of the first ones to tell me, you guys have to be ready every week. You are not liked around the league. But during my era at Tennessee State, you could recruit. So we have several players that went on, graduated from Tennessee State that played in the NFL. So I would talk to him from time to time. He said, Ed, you all are the only team. We post everything with America's team on it on our bulletin board every time we get ready to play y'all. And I'm talking about guys, Atlanta Falcons, Philadelphia Eagles, not just our rival at the time when I first came in to Washington Redskins. That's when I learned that we don't have an off week. And people don't have no idea how tough that is. I don't care if a team that's 0-14, if they can just win one game, they want to beat Dallas. That's tough.
One game.
One game. And look, the Raiders were hoping to win a game on Monday night. It did not work out. Dallas, obviously, a lot of different storylines going into that game. There was obviously, it was the first chance that the team had gotten to play since the tragic death of Marshawn Kneeland. That was a big part of the storyline. And then there was a question for some people, I think, when they were like, all right, is this going to be a team that comes out and plays for Marshawn and his memory, or are they going to come out, and are they potentially going to be just distracted? And even, I think, understandably so for a lot of people, it's a tough week. If they come out here and they're a little flat, people are going to understand it. But they didn't come out that way. They came out really motivated and played as a team and played probably their most complete game of the season on the way to this victory over the Raiders. Just kind of want to go around. Ed, you can start, and then over to Nate. Your thoughts on what we saw out there on the football field and the encouraging signs of, hey, this might be a team that adding some pieces and getting some players healthy, they might play some good football down the stretch.
Well, first of all, my condolences to Nealon's family. I was at the game. And even doing warm-up, I saw something that it was other than maybe early in the year, it was my first time seeing. And that's a team looked motivated and played with a sense of urgency. Now, that's been missing. And I'm not trying to throw somebody under the bus, but that's my first time seeing that in a while. And it showed. And I'm not just talking about defense, defensive line. I'm talking about the secondary. I'm talking about wide receivers. I'm talking about offensive line. And you have to play with that kind of mentality in order to win in this league. It's tough to win games. I don't care who you are. The Chiefs, who've been dominating the past 5-6 years, will tell you it's not easy.
No,
it's tough. So I'm hoping they keep that up.
Yeah, I'm so agreeable with that, Ed, and it's just I think this right here, this was a game where you can start building. Okay, you may lose the rest of the games, but when you're trying to build a team, Ed was fortunate enough that the Cowboys were in place and winning. I thought when I first got here, I was going to be fortunate enough to ride that wave. But like I said, I was the jinx for a couple of years. But once you start building a team, when Jimmy started building us, and we start adding the right pieces, you can see the momentum. And I'm hoping by us getting Quincy Williams, by us getting Logan Wilson, that we're starting to build the right pieces. I started this season saying I don't know what the record's going to be. I just hope that we can get the right players in here. You heard Ed say the love of the game.
Yeah.
We need at least 7 to 8 more guys that love the game.
Mm-hmm.
Also, unless you played the game, you don't have no idea how difficult it is to gel as a team when you bring in new players in every year.
Yeah.
And that's what Nate ran into. Like I said, when I got to the Cowboys, I walked into a very good situation. That's easy. But when you have to gel. You have to gel as a team in order to be like a machine.
That's
you
right.
have to have 11 players playing as one. And the past few years, when I played with Jimmy that 1 year, we were 1-15. I had another year left on my contract. But I saw something. I said, man, this team gonna win around here. So when I went to Jimmy, I went to his office and told him I was gonna be retiring. I said, I'm gonna tell you something. I said, you're gonna win around here. I know what it takes to win.
Right.
And like Nate said, when he got all his ducks in a row, they dominated. That's what you gotta have. That's what you gotta have.
That was one of my questions to you, is that how long does it take to gel as a team and play with chemistry? Because you have guys like Quentin Williams that come in and they dominate up front. Logan Wilson that kind of help the communication aspect. How long does that typically take?
Well, on offense, let me say this. On offense, number one, you can't win without a quarterback. Number two, you got to have offensive linemen that can protect that quarterback and also can create a running game.
Yeah.
A running game is key. Why is a running game key? If you can gain anywhere from 3 to 5 yards on first down, being a defensive player, now you got me on my heels. I don't know what's coming. I don't know what you're going to hit me with. You don't ever want a defensive line on their toes.
That's right.
Now, they wrecking havoc then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Greyhound's coming.
So that's what you have to have on offense. On defense, you have to have at least one shutdown corner that can take away a team's best receiver.
Mm-hmm.
That offensive line, you got to have some dogs.
The defensive line.
Defensive line, I'm sorry. You got to have some dogs. Let's go get after people. Go wreck people. You got to have at least one good run-stopping linebacker who's a headhunter. When you got all that going for you, you can win ball games. But if you notice, the thing I hate seeing is how, Nick, when we came in the league, they gave a quarterback 3 to 5 years before they'd write him off.
That's right.
Now
That's
they
right.
throwing them out there. Now I can't stand it, even though I played defense.
Thank you.
To see a team draft a high-profile quarterback and don't have a line to protect him.
Yeah.
But that can mess with a quarterback mentally.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, we've seen at times in Dak's career when the offensive line isn't playing well, and Dak a little bit later in his career now, he's pretty good at adjusting and getting the ball out still now. But earlier in his career, for sure, when there were those stretches where the offensive line would play, but you saw him getting a little antsy and getting a little bit on his toes.
Yes.
Now, I know, Nate, you were almost singing last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago when you found out Quinnen Williams was coming here. You were so excited. So I'm curious for both of you, how much I'm sure you were hitting high notes watching him rush the passer in the first half. Just what were your impressions of Quinnen Williams and this new look Cowboys defense, which when you consider injuries, guys returning, it was a completely new middle of the defense that they had on all three levels.
What I liked it is now we can start building. You know, he gives you a chance now that you don't have to have a superstar safety. You don't have to have a superstar linebacker. You have to have a linebacker, like Ed said, that's willing to hunt, willing to line everybody up, willing to stop. This kid can stop the run. Now Osa will become a factor. Now you will hear Nate say, hey, Osa, look at number 97. He will become a factor. Kenny Clark will become the Kenny Clark that we got from Green Bay. Because when you have that, and Ed will tell you, when Randy White was on fire, ain't nobody in the league can block Harvey Martin and Ed Too Tall Jones with one tackle. Talk to him, Ed.
Totally agree.
Come on,
agree.
man.
Totally agree. You have to have it. Like Nick said, they can. The future is starting to look bright again.
Yes.
You know, the way they can play up front now. It's starting to look. It might be too late for this season. I hope not, but it might be.
Thank you.
But at least it gives you something to get excited about for next year as they continue to still add a few more key pieces.
When you look at, you talked about how tough it is when an offense can run the ball. And so you were saying that's one thing you got to have on offense. So it feels like right now, like I said, you get Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson back. That's brand new safeties essentially. Logan Wilson and DeMarvin Overshown, that's brand new linebackers in here. Then you've got Quinnen Williams in the middle. So this run defense looks completely different in terms of makeup now. Is the ability now to potentially take away the run, which they've struggled at, does that just naturally help your pass coverage too whenever you start realizing this may make them a little more predictable because teams are going to want to throw it instead of picking their poison?
When you have a defensive line that's wreaking havoc, it makes everybody in that second down better because quarterbacks now, it keeps that timing off. That they can't get in rhythm. Mm-hmm. With the quality receivers they have now, if a quarterback's in rhythm, can't no cornerback in the league cover.
Yeah,
so when that defensive line is wreaking havoc, it makes everybody better.
Nate, you feel the same? If they can take away the run, how much better does that make their
because
their defense
now,
as a whole?
but now because you can dictate to the offense. When you make them one-dimensional, now you can start putting assets in the passing game. Now your defensive ends become hell-raising.
Yes.
And so that's why I was trying to say for weeks and for years and for years and for years, quit worrying about an outside rusher when you don't have nothing in the middle. Yeah. Because if you don't build from the middle, you cannot be successful. Every team that makes it to the Super Bowl has one thing in common, a better than average offensive line, and they got a dog in the middle of their defense. Look at the record.
I was at the Super Bowl last year. Couldn't nobody have beaten Philly doing that Super Bowl because of that middle of that line.
But
I talked to the quarterback from Kansas City. He has a home here, and I saw him at the golf course. He said, Ed, I changed my stance to try and get out quicker and still look up there in my face.
Yeah.
That's something that, you're talking about the timing and everything. I remember when Chris Richard first got here as the defensive coordinator or passing game coordinator at the time in 2018, they were asking him, he got asked about how much press coverage he likes to play. And then he said, the way he explained it was, he says, look, he said, when you talk about trying to make an offense anxious and trying to get them out, he said, what if I told you that one of the most anxious things you can do and one of the most stressful things you can do to a quarterback is for him to see corners creeping up and knowing that his timing is not going to be what they've practiced all week. And so if they're able to get some of that and start throwing off the timing and get the pass rush quicker, that's naturally going to improve things.
Yes.
Wow.
All right, let's take our final break here on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more, get some more thoughts on the Cowboys game, probably talk a little bit more about George Pickens and his performance, which was out of this world, and then look ahead a little bit to Philly, which I know for sure at least by one, right, Nate?
Oh, man.
By one at least?
Wow.
At least? We'll
They
get
got Jordan Davis, man. They got Jalen Carter.
By one, Nate. That's next.
78-yard field goal, man. The winning
That's next on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk.
Let's call him. Go Cowboys! Go Cowboys! Go Cowboys! Go Cowboys!
Back to SWBC Mortgage's Dallas Cowboys Crosstalk.
Yeah, check this out.
Broadcasting live from the Cowboys Club at the Star in Frisco.
At SWBC, customized solutions for individuals and businesses are just a click away. Visit SWBC.com to learn more and start your next adventure. Welcome back to the Cowboys Club, Star in Frisco. This is the final segment of the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk. We're coming to you live on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network, DallasCowboys.com, and all other associated social media platforms. I'm Bobby Bell from 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, the radio flagship home of the Cowboys. Tonight I'm joined by DallasCowboys.com's Nicole Hutchison. We've also got the three-time Super Bowl champ, six-time Pro Bowler Nate Newton here, and we also have former number one overall pick, three-time All-Pro, three-time Pro Bowler, and Super Bowl champion Ed Too Tall Jones here. Ed, thanks again for joining us. Last segment here, I wanted to touch on the offense because, I mean, we talked a lot of defense there, and that's obviously the headline coming out of the Raiders game because that was where most of the concerns were. But, man, a brilliant performance from George Pickens in this game, especially coming after a surprise benching or punishment for him and CeeDee Lamb from Brian Schottenheimer for what were quote-unquote missed things. Didn't want to get into specifically what they were, but it sounded like there was just some, I think Jerry said later on, missed meetings is essentially what it was. But just a really great response from George Pickens after missing that first series, coming out and playing a dominant game. You said you were there. What were your thoughts watching that live and seeing just a really impressive performance?
Truly amazing performance. And I was just sitting there going, boy, I know in Pittsburgh they're going, how on earth did we let this man get away? But I like the fact, even when he's not, you can tell when he's not the number one receiver, number two receiver, his effort. You know, he's a true teammate. He run all his routes, and that's impressive to me. He go all out every play. You can win ball games like that when you're looking out for your fellow teammates.
What's been missing for this offense is a true kind of 1-2 punch, so to speak, in terms of the receiver room to help, CeeDee Lamb out. But when you have a guy like George Pickens and CeeDee that can stretch the field the way that they do, what does that do for a defense? Obviously, you play defensive end, but what does that do for a defense when you have to game plan for two guys like that where you can move them all across the line of the scrimmage?
You can only double one of them.
Yeah.
And good luck whoever have either one of those guys one-on-one. But still, to make all of it work, and I'm sure Nate will attest to this, you got to run the ball. You got to be able to run that ball.
And this week against Philadelphia, if you neglect that, we're going to get beat down.
Which first week, obviously, they did establish the run in week one a little bit with Javonte.
Brother. Number 98, Jalen Carter
it's
is
a difference.
playing.
It's a difference, yeah.
They dominated a game against Detroit, who is a run-heavy team.
Yep.
These two got number 90 and number 98, Ed, dominated the game. Soul snatcher right guard, Booker, Cooper, BB center, my left guard. They're going to have to play lights out.
Yes.
How did you feel about the offensive line's performance
They
coming back out?
They played okay. They had Crosby, number 98. They had to stop him. They played well. It's time to step it up. This is their third week being together. This is the first time our offensive line has played together more than 2 games. This is their third game back together. They're going to have to pick it up. We're in the NFL. Pick it up. Physically, mentally, spiritually, pick it up. Because these two guys dictate. Then they got a dude, I can't even pronounce his name, Maury Ojamara, number 97. He's going to be tomorrow if you don't block him. He's going to get paid tomorrow. Believe that. I'm telling you.
And you're right. They did get the very fortunate ejection for Jalen Carter right out of the gate in week one, and so they're able to have some success there. But it is something right now where you look at Dallas, and obviously they've got a different defense, and you mentioned the offensive line gelling together, playing a little bit better. How much does this change for both of you, your outlook for the rest of the season? How big is this game in terms of if you win this, how indicative is that of like, hey, you might have an opportunity down the stretch, but it's got to start with this?
Well, like I said, thus far they've ducked themselves in a hole.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But I'm a true believer, man, that you don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. And these next 4 or 5 games in a row is, oh my gosh, they playing some very good, talented teams. But you take it one at a time. And they start with Philly, a division team, a Super Bowl champion. You can't ask for a better opportunity than that. If you're a coach and have to worry about, will my guys be ready to play, then something's wrong.
Yeah.
They don't need to be around. If I was one of those players in uniform, my gosh, I'd be running around like a chicken with his head cut off this week, full of excitement. Just can't wait until Sunday.
Go back home with a switch.
That's right.
Yes, sir, man. I hope he can make me think of the old school saying, this is what we have to do, fellas, is be excited for this team. Me and Ed can have patience because we've been through a rebuilding process. We've seen it. This thing is not just going to turn around because we got one player or 2 players. This is going to be something that you have to build. So if they don't win this game, but if they're very competitive, like Ed said, if they're excited about playing and playing for one another, you are going in the right direction. Philly is something different, bro.
Yes, they are.
I'm telling you.
Do you feel like from what you've seen though, do you feel like this team can win this next gauntlet of Philly, Chiefs?
It's going to be
Detroit,
hard.
Minnesota?
It's going to take average of maybe 28 to 30 points a game, and they're going to have to get 2 turnovers somehow, some way. And the field goal kicker going to have to kick some game winners. Some game winners. He's going to have to kick some game winners.
I look at it like with the games they have coming up, I mean, no question about our offense is going to have to step it up.
Yes.
Because they can.
Yes.
They have the team. Our offense is good enough to win it all. So anytime you're in a situation like that, if I'm that offense, I'm in my meetings, I'm saying, hey, guys, we got to do this for the defense. And like Nate said, if they can put up 30-some points a game, with the way our defense is starting to gel and play now, you can win any of those games.
You know, Dak Prescott is a fan of not saying too much. He doesn't want to give anything away. So he usually likes to speak a little more generically. He's zoned up to that. This was Dak Prescott talking to Mike Silver from The Athletic this week. He said, do we want to make the playoffs? We've got to go beat some playoff teams. And it's not one game at a time. We don't have that luxury. We've got to think of the whole thing. We have to go on a run, and we're going to do it together. That'll tell you the seriousness of it. The one game at a time has been a line for Dak and others for a very long time. Dak said, we don't have time for one game at a time. We got to look at it on a much bigger scale. Ed Tootal-Jones, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
For Ed Tootal-Jones, Nicole Hutchison, he is Nate Newton. I'm Bobby Bell. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next week on the SWBC Cowboys Crosstalk.
This has been a production